Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel taught, there are three ways to mourn: to weep, to be silent, and to sing. The first way to mourn is to weep. Even if our tears are for ourselves, for our ache of loneliness, for our pain of loss, they are still sacred, for they are the tears of love. The second way to mourn is to be silent, to behold the mystery of love, to recall a shared moment, to remember a word or a glance, or simply at some unexpected moment to miss someone very much and wish that he could be there. The twinge lasts but a moment and passes in perfect silence. The third way to mourn is to sing a hymn to life, a life that still abounds in sights and sounds and vivid colors, such as yellow, to sing the song our beloved no longer has the chance to sing. We sing the songs of our beloved, and we aspire to his qualities of spirit, and we trust in our heart that there is a God who hears the bittersweet melody of our song. The time of mourning is a complicated time filled with many emotions and memories. We begin our service with a recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking Larry's life with a 3,000-year-old tradition of the people Israel and the eternity of God. We begin with Psalm 23, which can be found in your handout. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And we continue on the top left with Psalm 121, Esainai el heharim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. I will lift up mine eyes unto the mountains, from whence shall my help come? My help cometh from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel doth neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall keep thee from all evil. He shall keep thy soul. The Lord shall guard thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and forever. Our rabbis taught that there are three crowns: the crown of the Torah, the crown of the priesthood, and the crown of royalty. But they emphasized that a good name excels them all. The book of Ecclesiastes says, Tov Shem Mishemen Tov. A good name is to be treasured above precious oil. Wealth, health, even life passes away, but a good name lives forever. It is this view that the Talmud teaches. Monuments need not be erected for the righteous. Their deeds are their memorials. Larry will be remembered and revered for the kindness he has shown, for the love he has given, for he is a shining example of what it means to be a mensch, or perhaps even more accurately, a man of valor. Many of you are probably familiar with Eshet Chaya, the woman of valor from the book of Proverbs, and so this is an adaptation of that beautiful reading. A man of valor who can find. He is more precious than gold or stocks. His wife trusts in him, and so she lacks nothing. He does her good, never harm, all the days of their lives. He perceives his labor is rewarding. His candle burns on into the night. He reaches out to those in need. He is clothed in strength and dignity. He speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on his lips. His children rise up and bless him. His wife sings his praises. Many sons have done valiantly, but you, Larry, excel them all. We take a moment now to rise up and sing all of our collective praises to Larry, to a life well lived and the beautiful legacy he has bestowed upon us. And we are blessed today to hear from several family members, and we are beginning with his brother Fred.
Larry would be very, very grateful to know this outpouring. I think it's so beautiful. The families, Michelle, I don't know if anyone's working in your office now. And Dan, I guess your office not open either. But Larry would be so, so proud. And he deserved it because he definitely lived a beautiful life. How to figure out how am I going to sum up over 77 years of life with Larry. So I had to cut it to add some things that are a little bit of our history, and then some accolades that people have bestowed. Our father Sam immigrated from Kyiv, Ukraine, and arrived in the port of Philadelphia on June 14th, 1911. That so happens to be the day of Larry's passing. 115 years later, June 14th, 2026. The significance of June 14 doesn't end there, because Larry's son Lee was born on June 14th, 1969. June 14th is now a sacred date in the annals and history of the White family. Larry was born in 1944 and was considered a war baby. Myself, being post-war in 1948, I was considered a baby boomer. There really was a micro-generational difference in that 4-year separation. We grew up in a modest but comfortable row home in Oxford Circle section, northeast Philadelphia, and it was really nice seeing one of my old neighbors from those days. Being 4 years apart, to Larry, I was like a pesky little mosquito buzzing in his ear. He would do everything to shoo this little annoyance away. He didn't want me hanging around with him. It wasn't until we moved into our teenage years that the opposition to my presence broke down. I remember vividly in those teenage years how I looked up to Larry, my big brother. He was taller than me, handsome, always seemed to have a sense of style in his dress. I would always kid Larry in the later days that he was really the apple of my mother's eye. I remember seeing little pictures between the gap that I was born. He was always dressed in to the nines, a little hat. I don't remember getting any of that treatment. She was a dressmaker and would outfit him to the nines as a kid. He carried that sense of style through his lifetime. I tried so hard to mimic his style, mimic him, often trying to fit into his clothes, but I just couldn't pull it off because Larry was taller than me. I needed to grow, and I never grew enough to his height. I never caught up. Somewhere around 1966, Larry went off to the Army in basic training. He left behind this beautiful Chevy Impala, 1966, black on black. And that baby was sitting in that garage. And here I am. I'm a senior in high school. And I'm saying, where are the keys? I was a senior, and I was a relatively new driver, and I had my eyes on that baby, and how am I going to sneak it out? The Black Beauty was in the garage, taken out for a couple excursions in high school. I was a big shot with a flashy set of wheels. Larry claimed that he knew that I did that, but I don't know through the fog if he really did remember that well, because I know if he knew I was doing it, those keys would be hidden. I'm not exactly sure when Larry started to work at the famous Shirt Corner, 3rd and Market in Philly. It was a hot spot for shirt fashions of the day and remained so for many years. It was also the start of a lifelong friendship that Larry had with the owner, Marvin Ginsburg, who passed away in 2024. He was a dear family friend to all of us. Larry was well known, many of the clientele, and I can't tell you how many people would tell me that he was the go-to guy at the corner. Larry was instrumental in getting me my first job at Tie Corner at age 15. Normally in those days they wouldn't hire anybody that young, but Larry, with the gift of gab and his salesmanship, he sold a bill of goods and got me a job at 15. They needed help on the holidays, and Larry vouched for me, and I spent quite a few years all the way through college there. It was fun working in the same organization with Larry. He would send me clients over there to match up their ties to the suits and shirts. We were a team at the corner, and man, everybody loved them there. Larry branched out to his own venture in shoes and then a small clothing shop in Hatboro. His great skill was always in sales. He had charisma, the drive, personality, and genuine skills to get the order, then the reorder. His personality was infectious, and you couldn't help but not want to do business with him. Later, he found his real niche in business, selling advertising for the amusement industry publications. He had long-standing relationship with his clients, and many became good friends that he spoke with frequently. Relationships were his specialty. Not only in business, but his personal life too. I never met anyone who had such a large group of friends that he contacted daily, and a number of them are here today. Michael Myers, Chuck Clamper, Barry Arno, Lou the Sheik Cohen, and of course Lou Cohen. There's two Cohens. Thank you guys. I mean, you know, your name came up often in the hospital. I could see it on his phone, and I thank you so much. As you know, Larry was an avid fisherman. At the New Jersey shore, his weekend excursions on the flounder cruise were like his religious experience. I remember as a kid, my cousin Paul taking Larry over to the rocks at the jetty in the AC Inlet, and I think that's where the lifelong passion started. From that fishing passion, he shared moments that actually changed people's lives and left indelible memories to others. I never knew fishing could have such an incredible life impact. I want to read some excerpts from letters written to Larry by 3 of my grandchildren. My granddaughter, Allie, some of my fondest memories are those that were instilled with your warmth and kindness. I remember how much you meant to me when you were always happy to take me along fishing with you and Ryan. Sometimes Jack would join us. Many times I was excluded from sports activities by other relatives just because they assumed, as a girl, I wouldn't want to be there, which is why going with you and the boys meant the world to me. I feel incredibly lucky to have you in my life. My grandson and Larry's great-nephew, Jack, wrote, Larry was confined due to the effects of amyloidosis. It was an autoimmune disease also, and he couldn't be out and about like he would be in past years. While I have quite a few aunts and uncles, nobody compares to you, Uncle Larry. I miss seeing you every Christmas. I miss seeing you every summer at the beach. I especially miss going out and try to catch a keeper with you. Well, Ryan definitely became the fisherman of the family. The time I spent with you learning how to fish was invaluable. I guess I want you to know that I love you, man. I look up to you and hope one day I can be the same uncle you were to me. Now, these letters were all read to Larry, and I know that he absorbed it, particularly this one, because he cried after I read it. Before Ryan went fishing, he struggled with the elements of fishing. He didn't know how to get the rods done and get all the tackle put up together. And then my entire world changed. I got invited to go on an early morning flounder trip with you and Jack. I can still remember those cool mornings waiting for you to pick us up. I can feel the wind racing past me as Captain John drove us to the first spot of the day. I can still feel the weight of the rod when I caught my first keeper. You were standing next to me, and it felt like I hooked a whale. I felt so good to have someone who wanted to spend time with me, teach me about things like you did when we were fishing, Part of the reason I don't fish much at the shore anymore, it's just not the same without you. Uncle Larry, you helped shape me into the man I am today. Thank you for every fishing trip, every lesson, every memory. Thank you for being the uncle I needed growing up. You mean so much to me that I don't know if it's even possible to put into words, but I'm trying my best. You've had such an impact on my life and will continue to impact me the rest of my life. Like I already do now, every time I catch a fish, every time I see a kid that needs a lesson, I will be thinking of you and repaying your kindness. And finally, my daughter and Larry's niece, to the original RBD. As those who know Larry well, they know he had these little sayings, real big deal. He was the original RBD. I want to thank you for always embracing me and making me feel part of the White family. I always felt the love and acceptance by you and Aunt Kitty. Your home was where I learned about the beauty of Judaism. And if you put enough horseradish on gefilte fish, it's not half bad. Thank you for sharing your love and wisdom with my children. You have had so many wonderful memories on the Margate Bay with their Uncle Larry and his crazy fishing buddies. I love you, Uncle Larry, and feel very fortunate to be part of such a beautiful family. Love from your favorite RBD. I myself can go on, talk about Larry's glorious virtues, kindness, warm greetings, and a walking ray of sunshine. Just some of the things that come to my mind when I think of my brother. I would be remiss if I didn't publicly thank Larry's wife, my sister-in-law, captain of the team. I'm good. For the incredible job she did supporting, coordinating, advocating, directing the effort to keep Larry going through more than 7 years of medical ordeal. I can't look up at you, Kitty, because I'll cry. Also, she dealt with her father's last years to boot. God bless you. The knowledge you, Kitty, kept locked up in your mind, the ability to analyze each situation as it arose, was impeccable. You often guided the various UP medical teams as your knowledge of the situation was so extensive. And thank you to the co-captains of the team, Larry's children, Danny, Lee, Michelle, Sean. Dan, Sarah, Lisa, Lee, Sean, Michael, Michelle, and Ira, your full team support was above and beyond. The long days, sleep-interrupted nights didn't deter your mission to give Larry all the love and support a family can give. There was always someone with Larry. He was watched by his family members at all time, never left alone. Love given in life, love returned. And Jen, I don't know where you are, Jen. Where are you, Jen? You here somewhere? Jen, there's Jen. Jen, you know, I met you pretty far along this whole situation, but Jen, the nurse advocate, another member of the team that gave her all to aid in Larry's care and comfort through his fight against the effects of amyloidosis. I thank you all for coming from the bottom of my heart, and it just is so fulfilling to see an auditorium filled like this for my brother. I want to close with these words. These were words that kind of gave me a little thought about death when it happened to a close family member or a close friend. The life of, and I'm going to do it slow, the life of the departed is placed on the memory of the living. What you gave in life keeps you alive to all of us beyond your time. I love you, Larry. I will miss you. I will miss our 1-minute phone calls that Kitty and Barbara used to laugh about. We could discuss in 1 minute what we had to do. He was such a wonderful man, and even in this time, the amount of people that said the same thing. What an incredible person. What a nice person, not a bad bone in his body, happy, smiled, a lovely, lovely person, and proud that he was my brother.
Thank you, Fred, for those beautiful words and memories. And we are also so honored today to hear from Larry's grandchildren, Belle, Sam, and Alexa.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to start with thanking everyone for coming to honor my grandfather, Larry White. For those who may not know me, I'm Alexa Besser, Larry's granddaughter. I'm truly devastated about the passing of my poppy. If you knew my poppy, you would probably know about his passion for golf and fishing. But not only did he love those two things, he loved his grandchildren. To all 9 of us, myself including, Poppy had a special place in his heart for each and every one of us. Belle, Sam, Ava, Henry, Leo, Max, Raina, and Avi. Our memories with Poppy are endless and will never go away. During COVID, I would FaceTime him almost every day just to show Poppy and Emma my new toy, or even if I just got a good grade in school. Even though we didn't live the closest in distance, every birthday or every Valentine's Day or any just special day, the first person to text me was my Poppy. To this day, I play back all the voicemails just to smile or hear his voice. At the time, I thought my Poppy's dumb dad jokes were just corny and overall not funny. But today, they will always be the highlight of my day. My Poppy's empathy towards others was what he was known for. He didn't just help other people for the title, he did it to feel good and to be a good person. To conclude, I will never forget my Poppy and his amazingness towards his family. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm Belle, Larry's eldest granddaughter. My Poppy left this world at the end of the month of Sivan, the 3rd month in the Jewish calendar. While there are many significant points about the month of Sivan that I could talk about to relate this to my awesome Poppy, the one that I would like to focus on is the number 3. In Judaism, the number 3 signifies many things, one of which is a word and an idea called emet, which generally translates to truth. The word itself consists of just 3 letters, aleph, mem, and tav, which happen to be the very first, the very middle, and the very last letters of the Hebrew alphabet. The placement of these letters is no coincidence. According to the Moral, one of the greatest Jewish mystics, truth is represented by what is lasting and complete, encompassing the beginning, middle, and end. In this way, emet, or truth, reflects a reality that spans the past, the present, and the future. As I think of this idea, I think of my Poppy. His truth, which consists of nothing less than his love and his memory, in the past has made a deep impression on his wife, my his parents, his brother, his children, his grandchildren, his friends, and all of those who have had the privilege to meet him. His truth, his love, and his memory are still making a mark on us now, in the present, as we say our goodbyes and wish him eternal rest. And of course, his truth, his love, and his memory will exist in the future forever. Even though he is no longer with us physically, he will forever be held in our hearts. Poppy, I have loved you, still love you, and will always, always love you. I would go for a classic and say that I know you're resting now, but we both know, along with everyone else who ever knew you, you are not resting. I know you're up there with the big guy upstairs, either playing golf or fishing. The memories I have of you, so happy on the beach with your cigar, letting me sleep in bed with you until I was literally a teenager, always reminding us that Poppy is king, or just hearing you say, Poppy, along with many, many other memories, I will forever hold close to my heart. Most of all, the sound of your voice calling me Belle Baby and telling me you love me will forever and ever be stamped, etched, and stained in my head and in my heart. And I will surely never ever forget that Poppy was king, Poppy still is king, and Poppy will forever and always be king. Poppy, thank you for all the love and all the memories. I know that someday we will meet again. I love you so much, Poppy.
Good afternoon. When I started thinking about writing the speech for today, I really had no idea where to start. It is near impossible to sum up the connection between me and Poppy in just a few minutes. The truth is, I can't capture everything in our relationship here today, but I can share a few great memories that I'll always carry with me. I can start off with the tie I'm wearing today. This prominent yellow Tommy Bahama tie is for sure something nobody can pull off but Poppy. Yellow is his color, and I'm happy to say this is my first time wearing a yellow tie. I have to say, getting greeted with a Poppy every time I spoke to him always put a smile on my face. Poppy was more than just my grandfather. He was my #1 supporter, and I could also say my golf coach. Poppy made it to many of my baseball games since I was hitting off a tee all the way up to high school. #1 on my checklist after a round of golf or a baseball game was to call Poppy to tell him how I did. I will never forget our phone call after I finally hit my first home run in senior year. Hearing that familiar, "Oh my God, way to go, brother," meant much more than the home run itself. And yes, out of all phone calls, this one still only lasted about 1 minute and 14 seconds. The other day, Henry and I were reminiscing about the sounds of Ava's toy cars in Emma and Poppy's memory-filled basement. Driving around in circles for hours around the basement probably made Poppy lose his mind, but we know he loved every minute of it. Looking back, I'm sure Poppy wondered if I was more excited to see him or to run downstairs and play in the basement. Truth is, being at him and MM's house is something I'll always cherish because they made it feel so special. Before I finish, there's one more thing I have to share. The day after Poppy passed away, I decided to go play a round of golf, which was one of Poppy's favorite hobbies. On the 6th hole, I hit a shot from about 80 yards, directly dunked into the hole. I know Poppy would have loved getting that phone call from me about the shot. Since I couldn't call him, my dad got the honor of hearing me brag about it instead. Later in the round, walking off the 18th green, I decided to take another look at the ball. Flipping the ball around in my hand brought me to tears, as I now only saw that the roughed up ball had a distinct name on it that read Larry. I took in that it was not only me on the course that day, as Poppy was right by my side the whole time. Poppy, there's so much for me to say. Just know that everyone is here today to honor the great man and role model you were. I love you so much, Poppy. Fly high, brother.
We know Larry will be with us in so many ways, and we are privileged to have Ava, Lily, and Henry share a few ways in which he will always be with them.
Hi everyone, I'm Ava, Larry's granddaughter, and these are my siblings, Lefty and Zeke. My Poppy loved his grandkids so much, and he made sure we knew it. He did this by sending us home with gifts, or what my dad liked to call junk, taking us to Junior's down the shore for donuts and dogs, and sharing his favorite sayings like, "If I don't see you in the spring, I'll see you in the mattress," or my personal favorite, "You can pick your friends, you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose." He even made up his own chant with dance moves for all of us to sing when we saw him. Poppy spells Poppy. He called himself the king, and we called him Popsicle Head. He was always so full of life, and he wanted to share that with everyone around him. I was fortunate enough to get to build a deeper relationship with him. I got sick not long after he did, and we began to bond over shared experiences and checked on each other often. He would text me things like, "Thinking about you every day. I just love you. Rest up. I'm always here for you. Have a peaceful night. Good morning, sunshine." And Ave, checking in. How you feeling? Every text was followed by 5 different emojis and signing his name Poppy at the end like he didn't have my number saved. He left me a voicemail back in 2022 when I was at my worst, and it stuck with me, partially because it was the most words I ever heard him say at once. He said, "Hey, Ave, it's Poppy. Just thinking about you, caring about you, loving you, and missing you, and wishing you good stuff. You're the best. If you get a chance, call me. If not, I understand, but I know you're going to be okay because I love you and you're strong. Talk to you soon." My favorite way we communicated was through self-help books. I will never forget when he sent me my first book. I was away at college feeling really low and lost. I remember asking the universe for a sign, and that same day I was handed a book that was titled, "The Universe Has Your Back." That book became a catalyst for change that brought me back to myself and laid a foundation that I have built upon every day since. At a time when I often felt misunderstood and disconnected from the people around me, he was one of the few people who made me feel less alone. Not only was he supportive of who I was and what I believed in, he also respected me. In my last voicemail from him, he said, "Hey, Ave, it's Poppy. When you get a minute, give me a buzz. I need some of your great wisdom. Love ya. Hope all is great. Talk to you soon." In his final days and his last greeting to me, he opened his arms and he said, "My queen, my guru." In the end, we truly became friends, and that is a gift I will carry with me. My Poppy was a spiritual man, and his philosophy was choose positive thoughts, trust the process, spread good energy, and find the good in any situation. One of his mantras was, "I bring about what I think about." I'm willing to bet that when most of you think of Larry, you remember a great big smile, infectious laugh, and goofy positive energy. That man brought about what he thought about. He passed away at 2:09 p.m., leaving us with his final message. In numerology, each number carries its own significance, and together they create a unique message. The number sequence 209 reflects his philosophy: maintain positive energy, trust your inner wisdom, and focus on spiritual growth. The number 2 represents harmony and connection. 0 symbolizes eternity, wholeness, and amplifying the energy of the numbers around it. And 9 represents completion and universal love. This suggests that while physical life comes to an end, the bond between loved ones remains eternal. Together, 209 symbolizes a soul that has completed its earthly journey, transitioned into peace, and continues into the next stage of spiritual existence. Thank you, Poppy, for the memories, the joy, and the companionship. It was an honor to help walk your spirit into the eternal. I will miss you, but I know I can always call on you, and you'll be there. You'll find a way. Love ya, Ave.
Hi, I'm Lefty. Poppy is silly. We know this. I have always been a silly, goofy, messy kid, clumsy. I guess that every day I was on the beach in Margate as a young kid, I would drop my ice cream or popsicle in the sand. It's a very, very sad thing to be young and have your dessert covered in sand. But Poppy had a different perspective. I'd drop my ice cream like clockwork, and Poppy would cock his head and say, "Hey, come here," and lick all the sand off my popsicle. And we would all giggle and say, "Ew." And he'd pass it back sandless and smiling and say, "Good as new." At a certain point, if I was on the beach without him and my frozen treat inevitably ended up in the sand, or I knocked my siblings in the sand, I would smile and laugh and lick the sand off all by myself and be proud that I followed in his footsteps. And when I was in first grade, I was in a musical, and before the show, I hid in the bathroom, not wanting to go on because I was really anxious. and all of the adults were trying to calm me down and give me courage, and I felt so overwhelmed until Poppy came over. He looked at me, cocked his head, and said, "Hey, come here." Pulled me aside, and it was just the two of us, and he handed me this ridiculous little gnome necklace that I'm sure none of you can see, but you can see later. And he said, "This little guy will give you good luck and protect you always." And I suddenly felt okay. I went on stage with the gnome necklace under my costume and performed, and it went great. When I think of Poppy, I see him nodding his head to pull me aside and a huge smile of reassurance. And now I'm going to use a fishing metaphor because it's Poppy. Life has many moments where you feel like you're stuck out on a boat in a storm, searching for your life vest and trying to steer the ship. But when Poppy's around, he's sitting on your boat in a ray of sunshine in the middle of a storm, quietly fishing with a smile on his face. He says, "Hey, things aren't so bad, you just have to find the sunlight. And I'll always be right here if you need me." Poppy has always been silly, but he's always been a steady, calming presence, ready to share a moment of courage and kindness and joy to anyone he encountered. The day before he passed, I brought the gnome into the hospital and held it in his hand with him. And later that day, Aunt Mishy said to me, "You're such a ray of sunshine, you always have been." And I looked back at Poppy and I felt immense pride that I could be there bringing light and joy just like he always has. So Poppy, I love you, I miss you, and I promise to continue your legacy of being a steady, shining light for people you love.
We can certainly appreciate why the grandchildren would speak, but now their parents have to go. So Lee?
I want to thank all of you for coming here today. This is really, truly an honor to look out here, see so many people. My dad was one of a kind, or as we called him, a legend. He carried warmth with him that people felt immediately, and once you met him, you felt like you knew him forever. Looking out today, I see friends of his that he's been friends with for 70, 75 years. That says everything about the kind of person he was. He had a gift for meeting people and turning them into lifelong friends. Now, we all know my dad loved clothes. He had more shirts and ties than anyone I knew, and his closet is like a well-organized men's store. So today, I feel it's only right that I'm wearing this particular tie. It has special meaning to me. Thank you to Sean, because he wore this to Sean's bar mitzvah. I remember telling him how much I liked the tie, and of course, the next time I saw him, what did he do? He gave me the tie. At the time, it was just something nice he did, but today it means everything. I wore it proudly, but as time went on, it obviously went out of style, and I've given away many ties over the years, but I could never find it in my heart to give this one away. So it sat in my closet unworn for many, many years, but I figured today was the right day to wear it again. When I think about what brought my dad joy, I think of friends and family first. He loved being with the people he cared about. He also loved to fish and play golf, though, as I'm sure as a lot of you know, it's safe to say he was a much better fisherman than he was a golfer. But one of the greatest joys in his life was spending time with his family and specifically his grandchildren. My favorite memories are seeing him on the beach with all of the grandkids. That time in my life, when they were so young and we had 3 generations together on the beach, is something that I will treasure forever. Now, on those beach days, as the day would get a little chillier, a little later, he'd always sit in that low beach chair of his with his blue button-up dress shirt. And the funny thing is when I close my eyes and picture him, that's exactly what I see. That shirt became one of those memories I didn't even realize I was holding on to so tightly until this week. Now, Sunday after he passed, we went back to the house Sunday, and I told Kitty about this memory, and I kind of broke down. A little later, she went upstairs and she got the shirt and she gave it to me. I know it's just a blue piece of fabric, but to me it holds a lifetime of memories. And when I held it, I felt my dad's love, and I felt Kitty's love too, because she understood just how much that shirt meant to me. I can close my eyes and almost feel like I'm back on the beach sitting with him. As much as I will always treasure those moments of taking care of him, of him taking care of us, I will also be grateful that in the end, our crazy family had the chance to be there for him. In his final weeks in the hospital, our family rallied together to care for him. And even though he was not well, that time meant more to me than I can ever explain. To sit with him, to help care for him, and to be there together as a family after everything he had done for us was one of the most meaningful honors of my lifetime. And even through all the emotion today, of course, as everyone said, I cannot talk about my dad without talking about his sense of humor. He would tell the simplest jokes. They weren't really funny to anyone else but to us, but it was all in his delivery. And even though we heard these jokes time and time again, we laughed every time, and we all still repeat them to each other to this day. When I think about all of that, his warmth, his humor, his love for his family, and all the pieces of him that will stay with us, I keep coming back to the same exact thought. His life was a light that will never be extinguished. And there's a Hebrew saying that puts this feeling into the perfect words. B'necha uvnei v'necha yimshichu et orcha midor lador. Your children and grandchildren will carry your light from generation to generation. And that's exactly what he did. He gave us a light that we will carry on for the rest of our lives. Now that I'm making everybody sad, I'm going to make everyone happy again. And in the spirit of him telling the same jokes, and Ava told it already, and I feel it's the most appropriate time ever to tell this joke. Dad, if we don't see you in the spring, we'll see you in the mattress. Thank you for everything you've done for us, Dad, and I love you with all of my heart.
Love you, Lex.
And now from Michelle, Larry's daughter.
My dad would look around today and say, unbelievable. My dad was an RBD, a real big deal. An RBD was a Larryism he used to jokingly describe people. But as I look back on his legacy, I realize he truly was a real big deal. He was a handsome, kind man who had an immense love for life. He enjoyed fishing, golfing, sports cars, sports, good cigars, toothpicks, high-end clothes, chicken parm, and of course, the color yellow, as his grandchildren wore today. I remember sitting in his lap while he was driving his yellow Corvette. His most favorite thing, besides his family, was the love of people. He was the ultimate connector, a human LinkedIn, who found joy not just in knowing people, but in helping them. He loved talking with people and was truly interested in their lives. He and I always talked about our shared gift of gab. He was my mentor in sales and in life, teaching me the most important part of sales, which was always to listen to the customer. He said, if you listen, they'll always tell you what they want. During one of our several conversations about how to close a deal in the hospital, he shared a story with me about his first job at Fleet's on Castor Avenue in the Northeast. The owner of Fleet's told my dad he was a B salesperson and that he talked too much. Of course, Larry replied, how do I become an A salesperson? The owner said, you need to listen. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so listen. That became my dad's sales mantra for life. He even had a placard on his desk facing him with the word listen. In my opinion, though, his success in sales was not because he became a great listener. I believe it was because he really cared about the well-being and success of his customers. They could feel how interested he was, and it was very apparent how much he always wanted to help them, not just do business with them. They trusted him with anything. He was also this way with his friends and family. I've received endless calls from him over the years searching for help for his friends or customers. He would say, hey, Michelle, my friend's sister needs a kidney. Can you help them? True story. Or my friend's son is looking for a job. Can you talk to them? And if I needed help with anything, he would say, I want you to call my friend. He's expecting your call, and he'll get you what you need. He would tell me that I inherited his trait for talking to people. He would say to me, "You just get it, Michelle. Not many people are like us." My dad was a kind and gentle man who was extremely spiritual. He was a true believer in positive thinking and that the mind controls everything. He would say, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. He introduced me to self-help books at a very young age, and he would spend talking with me about life and how to truly live it. I loved what I learned from him, and every time I had a problem, if I called him, he would say, "I got a book for you." Over the years, he would call me and say, "Oh my God, Michelle, I found the best book. It answers everything. You got to read the book." And in true Larry White fashion, he followed through with things immediately and mailed it right out to me that day. A day later, he would call me and say, "Did you read the book?" I said, "Dad, I just got the book." And he would respond with, "You need to read the book. I'm telling you, it'll change your life." My fondest memory with him, though, was once I did read the book, we would talk about the life lessons that we learned and how to apply them. Our favorite quote was from Dr. Wayne Dwyer. "If you have a choice to be right or be kind, be kind." His favorite topic was having gratitude and being thankful. He believed that this was the key to life. He was my biggest cheerleader, and it's so crazy because over the last few days, I received so many messages stating, "Larry was my biggest fan. Larry was my biggest cheerleader. Larry helped me get through hard times." I was not shocked by these messages, but it was an amazing moment for me to really see the impact my dad made on so many lives. My dad was a hard worker and had a successful career in sales. He was the main reason I chose sales as my career. And my dad would call me all the time and say, "How's business?" I would say, "Great." He would say, "They're lucky to have you." He acted like I was the president of the company and made me feel so proud. His sales career included working for many years at Shark Corner, owning 2 shoe stores, Cheap Feet and David Lawrence Limited, being a part of Today's Man, owning a men's clothing store in Hatboro, owning a fundraising business, selling cars, and ultimately working in the publication and advertising business for 30 years. He was honored by the living legends and brought to Taiwan by the Taiwanese government to teach them about the souvenir and novelty business. I remember meeting him for dinner in Las Vegas while we were both traveling for work, and he was sharing stories from his day at the trade show. He beamed with excitement and joy. The next day, he quickly got me a badge for one of his shows. As you know, he was not shy and figured out how to sneak me in with someone else's badge. He knew how to make things happen. You could instantly tell his customers were also his family, and everyone loved Larry. Anytime I would run into somebody down the shore who knew my dad, they would say, "Oh my God, your dad's the nicest guy." He grew up in Northeast Philly, and true to his good character, he remained extremely close to many childhood friends, Louie, Nate, Barry, Steve Litt, to name just a few. He always told me, "Never forget where you come from," and I never did, nor did he. As a child, he took me into Center City a lot, took me to the car show, the boat show, and we visited the Bourse building after every dentist appointment. He loved the energy the city had, and he is why I love it too. I remember when he took me to Fifth and Market to show me where his father's newsstand was and where his shoe store was on Market Street. My most favorite childhood memory was playing all kinds of instruments and listening to the Spinners or Stevie Wonder with him. Some other random things that I loved hearing was his time. Some other things that I loved hearing was his time in the reserves when he was called in the middle of the night to help during the Newark riots. He also told me about his fun times at Tarkin Playground and the joys of growing up in the Northeast. He also shared his enjoyment of planning multiple high school reunions and all the people he met in his business travels. He cared so deeply for his family. He was a wonderful son to Francis and Sam, a wonderful brother, husband, father, and grandfather. He taught us so much and left us with so many lessons. The one that I can remember him saying often was, "Being nice doesn't cost you anything." And the other one, "If you throw your problems out in the crowd, you'll take your problems back compared to others." However, my favorite one, especially when it comes to his sales advice, he would say, "Michelle, if you throw enough shit on the wall, something's bound to stick." My dad was a funny and silly guy who loved to laugh. These last few years were hard, but he showed immense strength and perseverance. Anytime I would ask how he was feeling, his response was always, "Great, how are you?" And then I'd find out the truth from Kitty that he wasn't great. He always enjoyed the pictures and videos I would send of the kids over the last few years. He loved seeing the kids fish, and we would FaceTime to show him. Of course, he instructed us the entire way of where to buy bait, what bait to buy, where to go in Margate, and how to hold the rod. Dad, thank you for loving me and my family with all your heart. And thank you for teaching me about life, love, and happiness. Thank you for showing me what hard work, dedication, and success look like. Thank you for teaching me about humanity, the art of happiness, and the importance of having character. The only thing you didn't teach me was how to live without you. I hope you were drinking a dirty martini and fishing and golfing with all your friends, and that you're there with Mom and Papa. And I hope you finally got your lamb chops. I promised Dad to clean my car and empty my voicemails. But most important, live a life that would make you proud. I will pass down to my children all you have taught me. To conclude, my dad's favorite line was, "Do me a favor." Please do me a favor and help me carry on my dad's legacy. And please spread kindness and love. This world could certainly use it. Rest in peace, my sweet dad, until we meet again.
We're honored now to hear from Sean.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Whew. So, you've heard a lot of things about my dad today. You hear how he had a joke for just about any situation and a song. My favorite was the one about the flunder. I'm not going to bore you with my singing voice, but if you know it, you know it. The poppy cheer, that was my dad. I'm going to miss him saying, "Sean, it's Dad. How you doing?" "Good. How's business?" That's just the kinds of things that made him who he was. To me, he was simply the best dad I could have asked for. He was my Little League coach, my basketball coach. He took me to karate, where I met my oldest friend who's here today, Steve Gibson. He taught me how to drive. He drove me to school. He woke me up every morning. He was always there guiding me, encouraging me, supporting me through every stage of my life, especially when I came out. I was very lucky to have a dad who loved me no matter what. He knew how much I love video games. This is one of my favorite memories. Somehow, using his charm, he managed to get me a coveted copy of Street Fighter II for the Super Nintendo. I don't know what strings he pulled or who he talked to or how he made that happen, but he made it happen. It was the most magical thing. He taught me how to speak backwards. I can't believe no one else has said that. And to this day, and Michael will attest to this, I can't go up to a red light and not say, "On Narat no dur." And for those of you who don't speak backwards, that means no turn on red. He taught me that a Swenrepap was a newspaper. He told me I was reading it with Rep-Tep Tibar, that's Peter Rabbit. He called my uncle Durf. More of you know him as Durf than Fred. These moments, they may seem small, but I'm going to carry them with me forever. I have so many great memories of my dad. He loved fishing, golf, his friends, his family, and most of all, he loved you, Mom. He loved you to death. And I don't know if we're on Zoom and if Beth and Chuck are out there watching, but thank you for introducing them, because without you, I wouldn't be here. Thank you. And I know a lot of people already talked about this, and he loved his self-help books. He always told me, Sean, read this book. Here, I've got the best new book about sales. You need to read the book. He was always looking for ways to improve himself, and he always wanted me to be better too. He believed in growth, learning, and becoming the best version of yourself. Dad, I promise you I will continue that legacy of always striving to be better. And I promise to take care of Mom. I love you with all of my heart. Please give a kiss to Gigi, Pa Chub, Pop-Up Sam, Grandmom Francis, Aunt Emma, and Uncle B. Rest knowing that you are the best dad that anyone could have asked for. Thank you for everything you gave me, everything you taught me, and all the love that you showed me. I'll see you again one day. I love you, Dad.
And we will hear from Dan now. Thank you. Oh, I thought she was coming up separate. And Sarah.
For the record, I was never offered a self-help book from my dad. There were all over the shelves, too. It was, you guys can pass one along anytime if you'd like, so. Anyway, I hope this isn't overly repetitive, but I'm sure you'll link up a lot of the thoughts and feelings about my dad, but much like Uncle Fred and others said, how do you possibly sum up a man like Larry White? I think if you were to ask him, he'd probably say, just keep it simple, speak from the heart, and make sure everyone feels good at the end. That's it. Straightforward, full of love, positive, and genuine. That really was my dad. But don't let the simple approach fool you, as my dad was one of the most unique and interesting people you've ever had the pleasure of knowing. He was truly a happy man. He was a selfless man. He was a man who didn't look to occupy a room. He looked to warm it. He looked to brighten it. And not in an overbearing way either, but in a way that quietly lifted the collective spirit. After all, he was Big Lar. It was a title that really had less to do with his stature and everything to do with the size of his heart, the scale of his humor, and as time went on, the depth of his courage. My dad was a Northeast Philly kid through and through, as you've heard, which I really believe shaped the type of man he would later become. It's where he honed his skills, his gift of gab. I can't believe three of us said gift of gab. His silliness, and certainly his love of people. It was all about the neighborhood, community, and keeping it real. It was about laughing and joking with friends and sowing deep and meaningful relationships. Friendships that would span a lifetime, friendships that we'd all be lucky to have. My dad's natural attributes would also serve as the foundation for his professional life, which honestly he approached much in the same way as he did his personal life. He was a man with multiple careers, as you've heard, whether it was retail, sales, marketing, publishing, where again, it was all about forging honest and true relationships, both with his colleagues and with his customers. My dad just loved people. He wanted to be around people. He fed off people. People from all walks of life, and people who weren't necessarily aware that they were about to meet one of the most genuine and positive humans they would ever encounter. People would either walk away with a friend for life, or at the very least, an experience that, knowingly or not, would have a major impact on them. And as you've heard, Shelley was saying connections too, I feel like I'm gonna just repeating this, but he just loved making connections, and he nurtured those relationships effortlessly, and with such genuine care that before you knew it, Larry White just had become one of your go-tos, one of your confidants, and if you were lucky enough, part of your inner circle. Connections were his true superpower, and I think that's a pretty badass superpower. Growing up with my dad could only be described as fun, silly, and full of entertainment. He was just different. He had imaginary friends that lived in his shirt pocket and would visit us at dinner and put on a show. My personal favorite was Cosmo, which was pretty much his pointer finger curled at the top. Cosmo was cool. He was funny. He had swagger, and he could take over the room. So for those of you trying to envision it, just envision like a lowly worm with a funny voice and pretty much dressed like a pimp. That was Cosmo. My dad made up silly songs about fishing that were so catchy that my friends and I would happily sing them in public, and I honestly still sing them in my head to this day. My friends loved Big Lair. He was their baseball coach, their fishing partner, their court jester, and their friend. He was just a big kid himself, and we were treated to so many stupid jokes and Big Lairisms that I know will live on in our minds forever. I'm so grateful to have that soundtrack to replay in my head anytime I want to access him. And of course, there was fishing. If you knew Big Lair, you knew fishing was his true passion. And he didn't just love the sport, he loved sharing it. He taught me, he taught my siblings, he taught the entire family, he taught our friends, he taught their families, he taught their neighbors, and honestly, anybody who would ask. And for those of you that were lucky enough to fish with my dad, you'll know that the experience really wasn't just about catching fish. It was about learning patience, sharing stories, soaking in his legendary silliness, and as importantly, enjoying his gift of calm. And how could I not talk about my dad without talking about his dancing? For those of you that know, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He's probably most famous for his YMCA dance, which was the living embodiment of saying, "Dance like no one is watching." It was truly something to behold. If you can envision this, his lower body was engaged in some type of spastic march while his upper body attempted to form letters that, maybe besides Y, best I could tell, was from a completely different alphabet. It was absolutely incredible. I mean, Dad danced like he was an AFib. It was incredible. I mean, no discernible rhythm, no repeatable pattern, nothing. But in Big Lair fashion, he made everyone smile and he made everyone feel good. I will miss the dancing. Anyway, over the last many years, I began to think my dad is a warrior with a smile. I'm not trying to be overly dramatic here, but for over 7 years, he faced a horrible and incurable illness and amyloidosis. It was a brutal fight. But to talk to him, you'd never know he was sick. You'd never know how much he was struggling. You'd never know just how serious it was or the havoc it was wreaking on his body, because he just didn't want to let the disease define him. He was too positive. He would consistently say that his mind was stronger than his body and that his mind would ultimately get him through this. And it did. For 7 incredible years, his sheer willpower, bravery, and unwavering positivity kept him moving forward. He wanted to keep his family and friends and really anybody that he encountered feeling positive. And the last thing he ever wanted was for any of us to worry about him. During the final 5 weeks in the hospital, my dad's room became the place to be. Nurses and staff from different parts of the hospital, people he had met months or years prior along his journey, would all come in to check on him and get a little dose of Big Lair. Everybody, and I mean everybody, loved my dad. And of course, he loved them too. It was truly an incredible thing to witness. I guess I shouldn't have expected anything less, but watching it all unfold still seemed unbelievable. I know it probably seems exaggerated, but those of you that knew my dad well know exactly what was going down in that hospital. Even at the very end, as he was slipping away with his eyes closed, he would hear a voice and remember their name. He remembered their stories. He expressed love and gratitude for everything they had done, for all of the amazing care he had received. And it wasn't for show. It wasn't performative. It was entirely genuine and beautiful. To the very end, true to form, he was making people feel good and valued and recognized. I'm really proud of him. And I was never more proud to be his son. Excuse me. At the center of my dad's universe was his family. First and foremost, my mom, Kitty. Mom, you took such incredible care of him through all of this, and the love between you two was the foundation for everything. And while the last many years were at times exhausting and frustrating and confusing, I'm sure you would agree that it was all worth it. You single-handedly gave us the ultimate gift, which was more time with Dad. Thank you. Now, I would like to say that you did this all stoically and with unparalleled grace and calmness, but that would call into question the credibility of this entire eulogy, so I'm just going to say this. You did the best you could do. You did an amazing job. You did it your way, and you truly put Dad's needs above everything else. I'm not sure anyone could have possibly done it any better and made it as far as you did on sheer grit, determination, and love. Dad was so grateful. We are all so grateful. And as importantly, though it may feel like it, being a caretaker is not your true identity. It was simply your charge. And while I know it was your absolute pleasure to do so, I also know that Dad wants you to find a way to let that part go, to be good to yourself, to recharge, to give yourself some grace, and let all of the good feelings, love, and memories fill that void. Thank you, Mom. I love you. To my siblings, Lee, Michelle, Sean, my brothers and sisters-in-law, Lisa, Ira, and Michael, my wife, Sarah, as you know, Dad was enormously proud of us all. He was so grateful for the unconditional love, support, and care we showered upon him, especially over those difficult years. And Lee said it as well. I am also grateful for the time we spent together as a family. Let it be known, however, that right before Dad passed, he did give me his final care list, the rankings for all the kids. Official results will be released next week, but a special shout out to my sister-in-law, Lisa. You are a rock star, definitely on the podium. And Sarah, no words can describe the love my dad had for you and the gratitude he felt for everything you did for the family. You certainly drew the short straw with regard to many of the medical assignments. And I think we will all know who's at the top of Dad's podium. And Lee, well, I think it's important to remember that there's only 3 spots on the podium. And you should be really proud of your efforts, whether you medal or not. We have some honorable mention certificates being printed as we speak. They're kind of the 8.5 by 11. They're nicely framed. We're going to get them out to you in the mail pretty soon. And perhaps the only love that could top the love my dad had for his kids was the love he felt for his grandchildren. Belle, Ava, Leo, Henry, Sam, Alexa, Max, Raina, and Avi. He cherished the unique and special bonds he shared with each of you. All different, all masterfully curated, but not in a cold way. Rather in the warmest of ways, which is to say that he filled each of them up with his unbridled poppiness while adjusting the message and the delivery ever so slightly to what each of them needed. He also shared a bond with his brother Fred, which is as close a bond as 2 brothers could ever possibly have. He loved my Aunt Barbara as well and had a special relationship with their kids and grandkids. Thank you guys for all of the love and the care you showed my dad. I know he felt it, and I know how much he loved you. So in conclusion, my dad led a good life. He really, really did. He brought love and joy and laughter to so many people. He reminded us that kindness is a choice, happiness is a state of mind, that strength can be quiet, and that a good laugh can get you through almost anything. Dad, you deserve the same peace, love, calm, and laughter that you spread your entire life for all of eternity. You've earned it 1,000 times over. We love you. We are so proud of you. And we thank you for everything. And I have to say it again. If I don't see you in the spring, I'll see you in the mattress. I love you, Dad.
Hi. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sarah, Dan's wife, Larry's daughter-in-law. I came into Dan's life and in turn Larry's 40 years ago this September. There have been so many words spoken, stories told today about Larry, but what I would like to do is one of the things that he appreciated the most about me. His last words to me were, I love you, I love you, I love you. Thank you for the quiet. So I'm going to ask you all to join me in giving my friend Larry some quiet. If we could all channel our inner Larry and send positive vibes out to the world and spread love and joy and healing to Kitty, to his children, to his grandchildren, and his brother, and all of us who loved him. We will all soak up that energy and use it to carry us forward. Now, let's please have a moment of quiet. Love you, Larry, forever.
Elie Wiesel once said, "In Jewish history, there are no coincidences." This is another way of saying that when we look at history, we see what is beshert. As we look back over the course of our lives, we see that what at first blush may be random events actually form the foundation of our purpose and sense of self. One rabbi reflected on this idea saying, "With the wisdom of retrospective insight, I have countless times learned to acknowledge that coincidence is but God's way of choosing to remain anonymous." That beshert, in so many ways, was embodied in his life and love with Kitty. We heard about their introduction, and she tortured him for 4 months before she agreed to meet him in person after he said, "It's showdown time." They met on winter solstice, and when she opened the door, she looked out, saw a chest, and then looked up. They were able to talk through everything. It was a passionate love. They lived by their own rules, even if some may have thought it was unorthodox. It was a spiritual relationship grounded in beshert. But I think beshert is manifest in our being here today. We observed beshert in the beautiful, heartfelt reflections we've heard. Larry's golf ball with Sam, the auspicious phone calls or texts to all of you. But these connections we see to the infinite. We heard about it as you all wished him farewell, and that he would be surrounded by love and dirty martinis and fishing with your relatives who have already gone before him. We heard about it in 209. We heard about it with Emmett. And we heard about it on 6/14, the day he died. As we've heard, Judaism and our connection with numbers is profound. A bris takes place on the 8th day, and it takes place on the 8th day because the desire is to have the infant live through that first week, to live through its first Shabbat, and then on the 8th day, to be able to enter into the sacred and infinite covenant with God. So that 614 represents, in some ways, that 614th commandment. We have 613 that tell us how to live our best possible lives, just as Larry did. And so on 614, on the clock, on the calendar, is a reminder that we too should appreciate what we have in life and live according to the best versions of ourselves. You could throw in wearing a little yellow, and I'd like to make a suggestion to everyone, especially because Dan didn't get a book, that you start the Larry White Book Club. The shelf has been started. So the first meeting will be called to order after the medals and honorary certificates have been mailed out, and I would like to think that with the book club, maybe the order changes over time. And so with the extraordinary understanding, wisdom, and love we have heard here today, I invite you to rise now for our concluding prayer, El Malei Rachamim, paying tribute to the life, the legacy, and the love of Lawrence G. White. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Baramim, Hametzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, Im Kedoshim Tohorim, Kazohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat, Lazer Gedalia ben Shloima Vefega, Shahalach La'olamo, Ba'al Harachamim Yastirehu Beseter Kenafav La'olamim, B'yitzror B'yitzror HaChaim et Nishmato, Adonai hu nachalato v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar, Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Larry White, who has entered eternity. God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And together we say, Amen. Please be seated. In just a moment, we will be heading to West Laurel Hill Cemetery at 225 Belmont Avenue in Bala Cynwyd, and then the family will be returning to the home of Dan and Sarah Bernstein in Gladwood, Pennsylvania. The address for both the cemetery and for Shiva are on the back of your pamphlet. The Shiva service this evening will be at 7 and tomorrow at 2. Thank you.